I've recently, in the past couple of years since we've started this journey, really took a deep dive into your blog as well. And it's full of amazing content and
Yeah.
resources. And your strategy is very similar to ours,
To
or
ours,
maybe
yeah.
our similar is
Ours is similar to yours. It's the other way.
We're always talking about all of the great people in our community, as well as the resources that they bring to all of us. So today we're extremely lucky to have with us Mark Seed from myownadvisor.ca, as well as co-founder of cashflowsandportfolios.com. So stick around because we're going to be talking to Mark and getting his input on a lot of things financial independence related.
Yeah, we had an opportunity to talk to him for quite a while. So this video especially is going to be a little bit longer, but it is totally worth it. So take your time, bring your coffee, bring your tea, bring your wine if you want to. You don't need to, if you want to take notes, feel free for it. But either way, there's going to be a lot of links that Mark is going to be sharing with us. Don't worry about that because we got you covered. We are going to have links for everything that we have said. By the way, we did talk a lot. We talked about drawdown strategy. What else did we talk about?
Oh, our investment strategy in general.
Yeah.
Drawdown strategies. Oh my God.
TFSA, we talked about what else? Oh my goodness, we talked about some tips for you if you are starting investing now. Even though this is not financial advice, you gotta do your homework, you gotta make sure that what we are doing fits what we are looking for. If it does not, it's okay. What is important is if you are starting now, you have a few things to consider that we wish we knew once we started.
Exactly.
Right? By the way, my name is Jean.
And I'm Christine.
We are a Canadian couple living in Toronto, Canada since 2019 when we started our journey to financial independence. We have been doing a lot of work. So 2024 is going to be our fire date. I think it's enough for us talking. I hope that you enjoy. Please comment below as we go through the videos. If you have any questions, use the comments below. So we are gonna try actually to bring Mark over again, and there is a special surprise for you.
Yeah. So stick around to the end. We hope you guys enjoy.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Or not bye.
Not bye. No.
See you in the next part.
There you go.
Mark, thank you very much again for joining us today. If you want to just tell us a bit about yourself and your strategy, your investment strategy, and sort of a little bit about your blog and cash flows and portfolios.
Wow, my goodness. Where do I begin? Where do I begin, Christine? Because this is, I've been doing this for a long time. Okay, so Mark Seed, founder, editor, owner, pretty much sole blogger behind My Own Advisor blog. Been at it for almost 15 years. It's hard to believe. I'm not in the personal finance industry, but obviously I have a passion for it. Like fire we go, like you. But I really enjoy the personal finance and investing. So I started the blog many moons ago. By trade, I went to school for biology, minor in chemistry. That was my first degree. Then I got a degree in business administration. Anyways, fast forward in my 40s now. And to your point, I also run another website called Cash Flows and Portfolios with my buddy and partner, Joe. And that's been a kind of a new venture for us to just to be a little bit more educational about the nuts and bolts of saving and investing and just some high level, case studies and financial projections. Because we just feel Canadians can use some of those services. And everybody wants to either retire early and or on time, right? So why not have a service and a blog dedicated to retiring early and or trying to retire on time?
Yeah. And I know Jean's he's found you a long time ago on My Own Advisor. And I've recently, in the past couple of years since we've started this journey, really took a deep dive into your blog as well. And it's full of amazing content and resources. And your strategy is very similar to ours, or maybe our similar is
ours is similar to yours. It's the other way.
Yeah. We're dividend investors, right? So
yeah, I mean, you two are very passionate about dividend investing, but you also, I think, based on the videos I see and the content you put on your site and your income updates and so on and so forth, you also have a passion for ETFs. So you're kind of like a hybrid investor, I call it, right? Like myself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and that's sort of kind of your take on it too, as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought long and hard about this, and been on quite a few podcasts and interviews and such like that. And honestly, the dividend income the story is twofold, right? One is I get paid to be an investor or a shareholder, right? As do you.
Yeah.
And the second part of that angle is, to me, it's motivation to keep the investing course. Like, what's the TSX? It's down 13% or something this year, and the S&P, like the US market's down what, like 17-18% or something. It's kind of bearish market.
Yeah.
But the companies I own, they continue to reward me via dividends, so I get paid to be a shareholder. And to me, that's motivation to not only stay the investing course, but in sometimes, to be honest, like, buy the stocks when they go on sale, right? So banks are fairly cheap, and pipelines are holding up fairly well, and consumer stocks seem to be taking a beating here and there. So to me, the dividend investing is great because I get income, I get capital gains, and it's motivation psychologically and emotionally to stay the investing course. And then, I can invest like you in the ETFs because I don't always get it right, and I'm not a perfect investor. And so I just invest in the market, and I ride the coattails of whatever the index provides me. So to me, it's kind of a win-win, right? I get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
definitely. And especially in moments like this, when we see that, the prices are going down, and the only comfort that we have is knowing that we are going to have the dividends coming no matter what every single month, right? So yes, the market is down, but getting the dividend is kind of give us some comfort, knowing that we are on the right track. We just need to go and stay focused and don't change.
Yeah. And you've been doing this a bit longer than us. Have you ever had any of your dividends cut?
Yeah, so I was just going to mention, I mean, dividends, you can read lots of articles about it. I mean, there's nothing magic about them. It's not like it's free money. It's coming out of, the company's net earnings, right? So you are taking a portion of the company's net earnings for yourself. But to your point and to your question, yeah, like dividends do get cut. Like, I've owned a couple of companies in the past, and I've written about this on my site. I think Husky is a good example, Husky Oil and Husky Canada. So, the dividends were quite cyclical for many years. They paid them, and then they lowered them, and they paid them, and they lowered them. And I thought, oh, well, that's okay. But oil and gas is cyclical by nature. And do I want to be invested a lot in this sector, let alone this company that has the up and down? And, I just felt emotionally, it wasn't for me. Yet I compare that to, some other companies that I own in the energy sector or pipeline sector. So again, none of these are recommendations for purchase, as you know, but like, I think about Enbridge, I think about TransCanada, and I think about their consistent year-over-year dividend increases. And I thought, that's a company that helps me probably sleep a little bit better at night. So that's part of the reason why I invest in that. But yeah, sure, dividends can absolutely get cut.
Yeah.
There's nothing magical about them. It's not like it's free money. However, there are some companies that have a dividend policy that tend to reward shareholders year over year, even if it's just an incremental increase. And so those are the companies that I try to double down on.
Yeah,
that's good. And I even remember in our case with RioCan, so that's another one that we invested, and then they cut the dividends. We know it might be related to COVID, but we never expected. But this is something that we've learned. As Christine says, she doesn't allow me to say that I'm wrong, that we're making mistakes. She always says learning opportunity. So there is always a learning opportunity with everything that you do. Like in your case, that you have been investing for so many years, and if you were to give some recommendation, as we know, this is not financial advice, but from the experience that we've had for those who are, starting now, what are some of the things that you think it's important for someone who wants to start investing now?
Yeah, I think the first and most important thing, and I mentioned this for an upcoming webinar that you'll see me on in a couple months, is I think it's know thyself, right? It's really, I find money is very an emotional thing, right? You get very tied to where your money's going or what you're spending on certain things, or are you getting value for money and all that kind of stuff. And I've kind of learned for myself over the years that it's really important to know thyself, if you will. So what makes me happy? Like, some people wouldn't bother going out for, a nice meal or dining out as often as we might now. And but that's something that my wife and I enjoy doing. So if that gives us enjoyment and fulfillment and fun, who's to say that's right or wrong? Now, mind you, I don't need a brand new car every few years. And so I look at that as saying, well, my Kia that's 10 years old in the garage downstairs, that's going to get me just as fine from A to B as any other sports car or fun car. Sure, if I have more money, eventually, would it be nice to have a nice car or a sports car? Sure, but I don't need it, right? But so this whole concept of wants versus needs, I think, is something that a lot of people really need to rationalize. And if investing in individual stocks makes you happy and you understand the risks, that's okay. If travel's your thing, some people wouldn't spend thousands of dollars on travel, right? They look for the lowest cost, budget quality option. But that's not always the same for my wife and I, because we like sometimes little luxuries in life. So I think knowing thyself and what makes you happy with money is really important. And the same applies with investing. You really need to know thyself in terms of what are some of your triggers, what's some of your emotional attachments to money, how do you deal with loss, how do you deal with gains, how much money do you need an emergency fund to maybe sleep at night factor. All these come into play, and I think a lot of people would do a lot of service to themselves if they look in the mirror and try to understand their relationship with money a bit better.
I think that's something I could have learned a long time ago. That's a recent learning point for me.
Hey, and we're all human, we're all flawed, we make mistakes, we overspend. Ultimately what I think you want to be able to do, and what I'm trying to do myself over the years, is I just want to make more good decisions more often. I'm not perfect, I'm far from it. But if I can reduce the number of my bad decisions and reduce the frequency of my bad decisions, then that's pretty darn good.
We always say that it's easier when you are investing now, right? So if you are new to investing, all that you have to do is put money in every single month, and throughout the years, you'll be in a good position, assuming that you're getting like the better stocks, you make good decisions. But what we are kind of struggling now is we are on the other end, which is time for us to talk about the drawdown and what are some of the things that I have to consider or not. But if we go to that point, what is the drawdown and what is the purpose of having one?
Yeah, I think a drawdown strategy is really helpful for a few things. And these are just in no particular order of importance, John, Christine, but I think having income security is one thing that comes top of mind, right? So this means, do I have enough, right? And if you have enough, or you're in the wheelhouse of you having enough, then it's okay to draw down your portfolio, right? The other thing you may want to think about is, do I have a plan for creating a legacy, right? So future generations, or maybe it's a financial donation, or maybe you want to be, again, philanthropic. So that's something to consider as well. The other reason to have a drawdown strategy is, again, you can't take it with you, right? So it's important to, getting back to my earlier point, maybe creating a blend of what you enjoy today versus what you can save and do tomorrow. But at some point in our lives, sadly, tomorrow doesn't come, right? So we don't know when that end date's going to be. And I think having a drawdown strategy allows you to map out the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years in some cases. And again, it's all going to change. No plans are perfect. But it gets you into the forecasting mode, the projections mode, if you will, which is what we do at Cash Flows and Portfolios with Joe a little bit for clients. Is it gets you into this concept of forecasting, well, where could I be? And then what's next? And what's next? And what's next? And so it gets you into this thought process or mindset around just thinking ahead a little bit. So having a drawdown strategy, I think, can help you reduce taxation and be strategic. I think it can help you better manage inflation. You can't control inflation, but at least you can navigate it, manage it. Again, you can think about, estate planning. It's also important to have a drawdown strategy because at some point you may decide you have too much money, which is a good problem to have. So you can spend it more. But there's always these black swan events. Like there's always the unknown. Nobody saw the pandemic coming except for Bill Gates's TED Talk. If you watch him from 2015 or 16 in Vancouver, he actually has a YouTube about the pandemic. But at the end of the day, we just don't know what the future holds. And so having a drawdown strategy allows you the nice balancing act between living for today, planning for tomorrow, and ultimately creating a balance act between the two.
I think it was really interesting because before we got our drawdown strategy done, I almost felt us kind of just slipping into this sense of almost, I wouldn't say despair, but it's like the constant, okay, we're still saving. We have this fictional amount of money that in our head we needed in order to be able to live the life that we wanted to. But I found that as soon as we had that number or that plan laid out in front of us, even if it was short a little bit, at least that kind of gave us a new focus, a new goal, right? Okay, well, we're not there, but we're close. So what do we have to do? And it gave us a chance to kind of reinvigorate at least for us, our journey to try and achieve that goal of 2024 for us, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Ultimately, I think that's what a lot of, forecasts or projections or just assumptions what the future can do is they can be motivating, right? You kind of see you kind of start seeing your future self a little bit, right? Well, if I do X, then maybe Y can happen. And if I do X times 2, then maybe I get, Y times 2, right? So it's just about having a little bit of foreshadowing in some cases about, how my portfolio is doing, what are the impacts of inflation, what are the potential tax hits that I see coming? Do we pull the plug early? It's just about understanding all these assumptions in general terms, because again, the future is a totally unknown place, but it just allows you to have confidence that you can pull all these levers at some point, right? You can potentially leave a bit early. You can do maybe some part-time work. The dividends may grow. Maybe inflation won't be so bad in a few years. You're putting your assets in the right places so you can manage taxation a bit better. It just gives you all these different levers to pull, which is really confidence building, to be honest, right? It's super exciting when you know your options.
Yeah, and your options might be a lot closer than you think. When we went to you guys, we were thinking 2028 was our that was our date, right? And we gave you that lofty little caveat, maybe 2024 if it's going to work. And sure enough, you guys came back with, well, yeah, you guys can make it happen, right? Based on certain factors or whatever.
Yeah, it's based on certain rates of return. You got to keep your savings rate at a certain percentage. And hopefully inflation doesn't go bonkers through double digits. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's what I keep saying on my site, and you two are awesome at saying this too. It's like, personal finance is personal, right? It doesn't your plan, your lifestyle, your spending needs is totally different than mine. And even though we're investing in similar styles, you have different plans and different dreams, and that's awesome, as do I. But it's the process of planning, it's the process of replanning, it's the process of forecasting that really builds the confidence and ultimately builds a lot of emotional fortitude and momentum to just keep at it.
Yeah, because it can start to wear a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And
as you see your portfolio declining.
And another learning opportunity that we had is actually we're thinking of, why don't we go like May, June, or July, or whatever the case is? And you guys said, no, it doesn't make any sense, because if you do this with all the money that you have to have, plus, the amount of capital gains that you might have, you're going to pay even more taxes. It'll be more realistic just waiting a little bit, a few more months than June at the beginning of the year. Again, that's our situation on how we are in, but things like this, we never thought that it will be the case for us, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where the plan comes in, right?
Yeah.
It kind of lays out some of your optimal tax times to sort of either retire or when to withdraw certain money and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and there's lots of options, right? A lot of people, I mean, if you have a pension, you know, and you're very fortunate to have a workplace pension or two, but you know, most people don't have one. But if you are fortunate to have one and you've got lots of RSP assets, well, maybe you want to start slowly drawing down the RSP, right? Because it's a bit of a tax liability, right? You've deferred taxes for all these years.
Yeah.
The money's been compounding away. That's great. But at some point, the tax man cometh, right? So you need to give the money back. So what's the best time to take it? Well, the best time to take the RSP or the RIF money is when your taxes are arguably the lowest. So that could be before your pension. That could be before you tap other income streams like your non-registered account or CPP, Canada Pension Plan, or OAS, old age security. So it is an alphabet soup, kind of an asset accumulation puzzle that you really need to think through. And there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what you two want to do
Yeah.
in 2024, 2025. Depends what I want to do in a few years.
Yeah.
Joe may have a different plan. Other bloggers have a totally different plan, and it's all good. It's like I say, personal finance is personal.
Yeah. I know when we started to first think about this, kind of before we even started talking to you guys about it, in our minds, we were thinking that we would be withdrawing from our RRSP first. Like that to us, that seemed like, I don't know, that was what made sense. But then once we started talking to you guys and the plan was done, it really changed how we looked at the withdrawal and the taxation rates. And I guess my point is, it really opened our eyes to the amount of money that we would be saving. Just depends on which accounts we're withdrawing from at any given time, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing with some clients for their projection reports, you know, sometimes a different strategy. It's they don't have a lot of RSP assets. They've done really well in a non-registered account over the years, or they've got corporations, right? So they're business women and men, and they've got, you know, a corporation to manage. So in a lot of cases, it's trying to slowly draw down the corporation assets and slowly draw down the taxable account. And then what some people are doing is the money that they don't need, they're funneling it over to their TFSA, right? Because the TFSA, knock on wood, as long as the government doesn't change any rules, it's all tax-free. There's no contribution lifetime cap, lifetime ceiling on the contribution limit. Everyone gets their 6,000. Maybe next year with inflation, it'll be 6,500 per adult. But you know, the money you don't need necessarily, you can move that over to your TFSA, and now your portfolio is earning tax-free dividends or tax-free distributions. And so now when you start taking OAS or CPP for some of these people, you know, taxation is going to be fairly low. Or lower, because if you only have CPP and OAS and a fat TFSA balance, that TFSA income is tax-free. So there's lots of permutations and combinations for everybody, and it's important to kind of understand your options for sure.
And speaking of the TFSA, you had mentioned something to us that it's important to have a TFSA successor.
Yeah, so a success holder is one of those features, and I think we can put it in your notes, of course, but I have a whole multi-thousand-word blog post on beneficiaries for RIFs and RSPs and TFSAs. And again, it's for consideration, but I tried to do all the right due diligence for that article. So the success holder can be used for a spouse or a common law partner, and it's a little bit different than a beneficiary, in that basically the TFSA success holder basically just takes over the entire account. So gosh forbid anything happens to any partner or couple or what have you, but you may want to think about, for your spouse or common law partner, naming each other a success holder, because essentially the success holder is true to the word. They basically take over the entire account. There's no probate or anything else to worry about. So it's very different than a beneficiary, and all the fine prints in that blog post. But again, not tax advice, because everyone's situation is different, and I'm a DIY guy anyway, but I would strongly encourage people to read up about the difference between a beneficiary and a success holder as it relates to the TFSA, because I think it's an important distinction.
Yeah, I don't think that we have that. But definitely, I'm gonna go and take a look.
We keep looking. I know, right? We keep thinking about it. It was right there with the wills. We got the wills done.
We got the wills done, which is good.
Does it ever end though? Like, you got the wills, the insurance, the TFSAs, the RSPs, the taxable account, the Smith maneuver, the house.
Yeah.
It's a lot to deal with, right? It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And another topic that is quite important is CPP and OAS. When do we need to take CPP? When it's time for OAS? What are some of the considerations that we have to think about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can only speak for myself personally. I think we're going to take CPP at age 70. The reason I'm thinking about age 70, Jean-Christine, is because I can basically get a bit of, as it is right now, the rules, about a 42% income boost between taking CPP at 65, kind of the standard age, versus age 70, right? So, that's not trivial, right? That works out to about what, 8.4%.
Yeah.
Guaranteed more income every year I defer, right? Between 65 and 70. So where else are you going to get an 8.4% guaranteed inflation protected return on your money, let alone from the government? So that's a consideration to think about, right? OAS doesn't have as big of an income boost associated with it. It's probably about 36%, I recall, between taking at age 65 and age 70. So if you're going to defer one of these programs, CPP might be the one for the extra income boost. But people who need CPP at 65 or even age 60, if you need the money, take it, right? There's no harm or foul in taking CPP money early. But I think a lot of people should run the math and do some projections and some estimations about, well, if I defer the money, is that going to be helpful to my spouse or my common law partner as a beneficiary? Is it going to help me for my longevity risk if I live to old age? Does that mean I can actually spend a little bit more of my personal assets and defer my risk, if you will, to the government and the CPP program? So there's lots of emotional, but also financial considerations about the CPP OAS equation. And again, like I said, there's no right or wrong. If you need the money, take OAS and CPP when you can. But I think a lot of people could be better served by deferring some of these government benefits to later on in life for all those reasons and more.
And I think we talked about it a little bit before, but withdrawal strategies, I know a lot in the FIRE community, we talked about the 4% rule, and our friend Liquid talks about his bucket strategy for withdrawals, stuff like that. Do you have one specific strategy that you use specifically or that you like, or do you kind of combine a bunch of them? I don't know.
Yeah, I probably combine a few of them. Like, I know for me in a few years, I'm really, my wife and I are both very focused on trying to, I'll say, live off the dividends per se, right? So essentially not spend any capital in the early part of our years, or distributions, right? It doesn't matter if it's an ETF distribution, live off that. But the caveat for us is we'll need to work part-time still, because we won't have enough assets saved up to kind of carry us through. At least we don't think, we're close, but we don't think. So we want to work part-time and live off the dividends. So that's a very conservative withdrawal strategy, because our portfolio is probably earning 3.5% to 4% when I add up the ETF distributions and the dividends from the stocks. So just spending the dividends, if returns in the future are anything close to historical, 7-8% on average for equities, we're going to end up with more money than what we're pulling out, right? So the portfolio is actually going to grow quite a bit over time, but who knows?
Yeah.
So all that said, I'm actually more inclined not about a 4% rule or anything like that, just for us to spend the dividends in the first few years as we work part-time. But I'm really thinking about some sort of variable percentage withdrawal strategy. So I've put a couple articles on my site. We can put the links in the notes for your followers. But just like spending today, like going out for dinner or wanting to travel, like your spending is variable, right? It's not a fixed line.
Yeah.
And I don't think retirement's a fixed line either. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to have 4% rule plus inflation all the time, because your spending is variable today probably, or at least somewhat variable. And I think your spending in retirement is probably going to be variable. So why would you fix yourself to a certain rule? So anyways, we can talk more about that in future episodes, but I think variable percentage withdrawal, and you can do a quick Google search on that as well. It makes a lot of sense, because you basically spend a little bit more in the good years if the market's doing well, and you basically spend a little less in the bad years and have some cash and some buffers built in for that. So life is not a straight line, and I don't think spending's a straight line either, right? So
No, definitely not. There's a lot of this right now in the line.
yeah, exactly. Well, me too, right?
Yeah.
So same goes here.
Do we have time for one more question?
Of course.
Okay, so another learning opportunity that we invested initially. We were so excited and we thought, like, companies paying a high dividend yield, and we've got one which is QYLG.
Okay.
We don't have QYLG anymore, thank God, but it was paying like 14 or 15% yield, and we thought, oh, maybe let's go and do it. But is it really worth it? What are your thoughts about that? Not about QYLG, which is more on the US market, but some of the ones that we have here, including
The covered
BMO,
call
the
ones.
covered call
Yeah.
ones, right?
Yeah, covered calls are interesting because, like, just as a quick primer, right? The call option kind of gives a buyer the opportunity to kind of purchase an asset at a specific price, right? So just think of it as, I'm getting called, right?
Yeah.
Things can get taken away. So the problem I have with covered calls, and I'm not against the products or all the ETFs on the market. I think some of them serve a purpose, but I struggle with the covered calls a little bit, just because you need to be willing to sell the stock at that price. It's got to be at that point in time.
Mhm.
And when I look at covered calls, or when I look at other types of products you can invest in, like preferred shares and other things, you tend not to get the upside per se as much, right?
Mhm.
So calls is mainly it's a return enhancement strategy, but you need to be very disciplined and you need to be very dedicated with call options.
Mhm.
And if you actually look at some of the covered call ETFs, I'm not sure if you average it out over the next 5-10 years, or sorry, you look back at the last 5 or 10 years, have those covered call ETFs kept up with the broad index?
Mm.
If you can look, you can look at some of the products out there and just do a portfolio visualizer. We'll put that in the notes too.
Yeah.
It's a really cool back testing tool, and you can say, hey, what did XIU? I know you're fans of XIU, or that ETF, and you can compare XIU or VCN, another broad Canadian index, and you can look at the comparables of a covered call. And again, what we could do the math and run the reports, but I don't think these covered call ETFs are probably performing as well as a plain boring broad index ETF.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I think you're right.
And I think there could be some pockets of time where these covered call ETFs and other kind of strategies may come into favor, and you could be very well rewarded. But by and large, I'm not sure they're going to keep up. So it's all that said. If you want to speculate a little bit with your portfolio, who am I to say? I think that's fine, but do it with a really small portion of your portfolio.
Yeah.
Don't bet the farm on any one thing.
Yeah.
And just be leery that when we think about covered call return strategies over long periods of time, unless you have the personal investing discipline to keep at it, it's probably not good to be flip-flopping strategies, to be honest.
We learned that.
We learned.
We all do. We all do.
Part of the process,
Yeah.
right? It's part of the journey.
But you didn't bet the farm, right? It's not like you put everything into the covered call.
No, God, no.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much. I know you're busy with your newest venture, Cash Flows and Portfolios. So thank you for taking the time. And did you want to let everybody know kind of again what Cash Flows and Portfolios is all about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously people can continue to visit me on myownadvisor.ca. That's not going anywhere. It's still about my personal journey, my dividend income journey, what stocks I'm thinking about or not. I still have lessons learned that I post quite often. Again, not a perfect investor, but just trying to do more things right than wrong and stick with the plan and during some wild and wacky times on the market. And then, the other venture is called cashflowsandportfolios.com. I run it with my partner, Joe. It's more of an educational site around really potential drawdown strategies for either early retirees like you, me, or even just people retiring at any kind of sort of traditional age, right? Maybe in their late 50s or 60s, or even people that don't want to retire at all. And they just say, hey, how much is my hobby going to make me in addition to my RSPs and my TFSAs and future government benefits. So we're really trying to provide that site for educational purposes. All the content's free purposely. We want it that way. And then we also offer some services around projections and the like as well. So yeah, hit us up on my own advisor on my personal site or our partner site over at Cash Flows. We'd be happy to talk to any Canadians and just chit chat about money stuff anytime.
Perfect. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And by the way, we are happy customers. We use your services, and we wanna.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. So we learned quite a lot, and we keep learning as we go. But it was an eye opening for us when we thought about, oh, I haven't considered this, I haven't considered that. So thank you.
Yeah.
You're most welcome. And I think for your viewership, we'd be happy, and we'll put it in the notes, but we'd be happy to offer any promotion in terms of a discount for a limited time for any of your followers. Maybe we could do something towards the end of August. If anyone wants to hit us up and sign up and go through the process, we'd be happy to extend a discount to any of your followers and viewers. We can do it for a limited time, but yeah, we're just trying to get the word out about our site and obviously help Canadians in a DIY low cost way. So anyways, I'll send you the details.
Okay.
You can put a big
them
banner
down below.
yeah, down below, link below, and you can put a banner there. And anytime you want to have me back and talk about anything, my own advisor, cash flows,
Amazing.
dividends, stocks, ETFs, just where to find me. Hit me up.
Yeah, we love talking to you.
Yeah.
We always learn so much.
But I have to say something that I'm not happy yet, because I have not got your autograph. And I told you I'm gonna meet you up sometime in Ottawa, and this is something that I really wanted to, because I have learned quite a lot. It's not because I'm in front of you. It's just like a testimonial, and we are always transparent on how we feel. I really feel that when I mean, before even meeting Christina, I met you before I met Christina.
Yeah.
Going through your blog and reading the content, it is amazing. We definitely recommend for the folks watching here. So
it is.
Thank
really
you.
great.
Thank you very much.
It's Jean, it's very kind of you to say that. I mean, it's the My Own Advisor blog. I didn't really mention this too much, but it's been a bit of a labor of love, right? I mean, it's very nice to have a few thousand subscribers for sure. Definitely more than that, but it is a labor of love. I spend time on the weekend. I spend time after my day job picking away at stuff, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. But I am genuinely trying to pay it forward as best as I can. I say as much on the site, and it's all free. But I do that just because I enjoy running the site, and I enjoy interacting with other like-minded people. So anyways, thank you very much for your words. And as long as I still enjoy it, which I do, I will keep running it. So
Perfect.
Amazing. Thanks again for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
sounds like a plan. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye. I know we kind of jumped around the schedule, but I think it was kind of free flowing that way, right? So
I think I like that better. Nicer just to have a conversation, right? And
I agree.
chat. We like chatting with you.
Yeah, well, I like chatting with you too as well. It's good. It's so hard to keep up with all the sites and my own stuff running. It's just
and cut.
So thank you. I guess it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I know that you have to leave, but thank you.